So let's talk current events. It's about time I had one of these videos, right? Gee, I wonder what this could be about. Could it be about the fiscal cliff? No, that's just small talk. Could it be about the drone strikes killing millions of Americans over each day? I'm not sure. I'm sorry, that's not millions. It's probably like thousands of innocent lives over in other countries. Could it be about the war that we shouldn't even be in? No, let's talk about something that's very important. Gun control. Actually, let's talk about this whole debacle. I've got so much to talk about. That's why I haven't made this video for a long time, because I don't even know if I can get it all out. Let's talk about the things that have happened since the wonderful Sandy Hook incident. And oh, it wasn't wonderful, it was a tragedy. I don't give a fuck what you call it now. You could call it Billy Bob's fucking pancake slap you in the face fucking rendezvous. I don't give a fuck what you call it, because it has been so disastrously fucking, I don't even know what you would call it by the media, that you could call it whatever the fuck you want. I really don't give a fuck what you call it now. But we'll just call it the big Sandy Hook incident. Let's talk about things that have happened since then. So many things have happened that we can talk about. We can talk about the incident itself, which we will, because I already made a video on that, but it wasn't quite as fired up as this one's going to be. We could talk about things like all of the pistol permit holders' information getting leaked in New York. We could talk about my personal ire, the pro-gun people being slightly less structurally sound than a piece of wet tissue paper. We could talk about Andrew Cuomo and his State of the State address. We could talk about Barry Obama flapping his mouth and flapping his ears. We could talk about any of that stuff, and we're going to. So what are we going to start with? Let's start with the incident that caused it all, Sandy Hook. I'll tell you right now, I don't believe for 1/2 of a second it happens like the media told you it did. I think this is the biggest false flag attack I've ever seen. Oh, but look, it's a conspiracy theorist. I don't believe in conspiracy theories. I don't believe 9/11 was a conspiracy. I don't believe John F. Kennedy assassination was a conspiracy. I don't believe the moon landing was a conspiracy. But things are very bad with this Sandy Hook incident. Now, trust me, I believe that there was a lot of media misinformation that goes around in the heat of the moment. But if you'll notice, when I made the last video on Sandy Hook, I had two not only caliber identified firearms, but two make and model name firearms. I said it was a Glock 26 and a SIG Sauer P226. Two identified firearms. Not, he may have had a pistol and a rifle. He may have had a few guns. A SIG Sauer P226 and a Glock 19 without a doubt. That's why I made the video. And that was after I waited for some of the facts to come in. That video actually came out quite a few hours after this whole incident started. It was a Glock 26 and a SIG Sauer P226 with, and I quote, some sort of rifle in the trunk of that person's car. But as the course of the day went on, the pistol started dissolving from the equation, and this rifle started coming into the equation. This AR. I thought that was very strange. I thought it was quite strange. And then there's this video of somebody getting this weapon out of the trunk of the car, if you've ever seen it, and there's something like, what is this? And it's a conspiracy theory. To me, it looks like some sort of AK variant, whether it's a Sega shotgun, I don't know, because it's got a side charging handle, but it doesn't look like the AR. But I don't think for 1/2 of a second that an AR was used at Sandy Hook. I think that's a bunch of crap that you're getting fed as sheep out there. And of course, I'm not talking to my wonderful subscribers. I'm talking about people that, you know, might believe into this whole story and, you know, aren't quite up on things. I don't believe for a second that an AR was used in that, whatever we'd like to call it. I just don't believe it. I don't believe it for 1 second. You're not going to have that many police officers go in and not be able to tell the difference between a 9mm casing and a .223 casing. That's just not going to happen. What happened, what I believe happened, was somebody did go in with, whether it was one person or two, because remember, there was also that mystery of the second person that just, poof, he's gone. We got a second person, and he's gone. We got one shooter, now we got two, oh, and he's gone. Remember, there was a second shooter, or no, there was a second person in an unrelated incident. There was an unrelated incident that just happened to be happening at the school at that exact time. Right. What I think happened was somebody went in and he did have the two pistols. And when they realized, hey, you know, we've had the Colorado thing this year. We've had, what, with that mall shooting, and where was that, Utah? Maybe it was Ohio, I can't remember. Where it was stopped by the CCW, or I think the CCW people are taking a little too much credit for that, honestly. But with all this stuff going on, wouldn't it be nice if it wasn't just a pistol and, you know, a harmless 9mm pistol? Wouldn't it be nice if it was a an AR-15. And don't just make it an AR-15. Make it the only AR-15 that the media knows about. The, of course, Bushmaster AR-15, because that was the one that was used by Malveaux when he cut down those people on the Beltway. That was the... no, it wasn't the one that was used by James Holmes. He used a Smith & Wesson. That's the one that I own, and, you know, the great internet sensation Speed Dog 138 owns a Bushmaster, and everything is a Bushmaster AR-15. I think that's just because they're common, but, yeah, it went from being 2 caliber identified, name, and make and model identified pistols to an AR. If that doesn't strike you as a little strange, plus, if you get really into it, you can find a lot of things. I mean, a lot of that stuff is nonsense when they're talking about, oh, yeah, this person, he was mind-controlled by the government. Let's not get too far. I just don't think that this tragedy actually happened as everybody said that it did. I don't believe that for a second. But the hysteria from that moment that I didn't want to bring out when I was talking about it as a respectable human being, because fuck that, that's gone now. I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks now. The hysteria that happened from that started right off the bat. Of course, you got Obama fake crying. Believe me, I absolutely assure you, Obama did not shed one tear for those children. He didn't shed any tears for all the drone strikes that killed all the people over in the Middle East. He's not worried about the American citizens because, like I said, I think that this was a false flag attack, and he may have had something to do with this this shooting. Oh, but that's crazy and paranoid. I don't care. Again, like I said, not a conspiracy theorist, but there's just way too many holes in this story at this particular time in the whole gun control is a sensitive issue thing. No, it's not. It shouldn't be a sensitive issue at all. I don't care if you take an actual assault rifle and go shoot down 500 nuns. Gun control is not a sensitive issue at any time. It should be a hard-pressed issue. It's being sensitive because the tip... you know, the tip is a little bit more sensitive, and the tip contains all the pussy people that can claim to be pro-gun, and that's a bunch of crap. You have all the regular strong shaft of real actual patriots, real pro-gunners. You have the shaft, but at the tip here, which actually, you know, starts the whole process, that is where you have these sensitive toilet paper folders. But Obama was fake crying. Let me do the Obama cry. Let me do the Obama cry. I will do something about this issue. Oh, hold on a second. I don't have my phone, otherwise I was going to go like this. Ah, the Knicks are down by 5. Oh, they're all good. The kids, oh, they all died. Oh, they all died. Oh, my God, I'm so sad. What's that? No. Number 2. Yeah, with cheese. Okay. Oh, I'm so sad. I'm oh so sad. That was the fakest thing I've ever seen. Oh, he's crying. Yeah, he's all upset. My ass. Obama's all upset about this. Get the fuck out of here. He's not upset about that shit at all. He was actually thrilled. That's the thing. Whenever these big anti-gun things happen, somebody gets blasted in some theaters, or some kids get blasted in Sandy Hook Elementary School, the anti-gunners jump for joy. I assure you, they don't care about the children at all. They do not care about the children at all. They absolutely jump up and down because they have all these plans written up on hold, and all they need is that trigger pulled. Which, I don't know why the trigger just doesn't do it itself, their trigger on this action plan. I don't know why it just doesn't do it itself. That's how guns work, doesn't it? The gun pulls the trigger by itself, and when this stuff happens, they got an early Christmas present. Because remember, this happened just before Christmas, so they got the biggest Christmas present they could ever imagine. It's funny because their argument is, how many more children need to die before we have some common sense controls, man? How many more children need to die? We're all sad. The NRA are heartless bastards. The only heartless bastards in that situation are the antis, because the pro-gun people are actually upset about the issue, and they are upset on both ends of the spectrum. One, because people actually died, but two, they know because the dipshits out there are going to come for their rights again because of an unrelated issue that has nothing to do with their firearms, has nothing to do with them at all. And they know that people are going to come after them. So that's pretty much my thoughts on Sandy Hook. Like I said, don't think it happened like the media explained at all. Way too much nonsense going on with that for me to believe in. I would actually need some transparency in this to believe it anymore. If we came out and revealed the actual crime scene photos, and it was in fact, you know, a bunch of 223 holes. Oh, we don't want to see all these dead people. That's just not, stop. We're talking about facts here. I don't care about that emotion crap. But again, I don't. The way it currently stands, I don't believe for a second it went down like the media wants you to believe. And then shortly thereafter that, because this is just when everything hit the fan after that. I mean, people were just flipping out. People just forget the basics of everything when you have one of these emotional events to come up. I mean, we were these kind-hearted, gentle anti-gunners that care so much about everything, cared so much to say, I want the NRA's family to attend the funeral of these children. Let me tell you something. If I was a member of the NRA, which I'm not, because I think the response to this whole this thing was absolutely ridiculous. By the way, I think it's stupid. I don't really support the NRA all that much. But if I was a member of the NRA or the president, whoever they were trying to tackle with their nonsense, at that moment, they would say, "Oh, I wish they would attend the funeral of every single one of these kids." I would gladly attend the funeral of every single one of these kids. And it's not to be an asshole. I would be there and I would be all respectful and stuff like that. And I wouldn't be all broken up inside, oh look, because I didn't fucking do it. That's the big problem that everybody seems to be having. They're putting the blame on everything they can, except the person. And that's the way it goes in society. I've said this many times before. I've said this many times before. Oh, yeah, I wish the NRA would have to attend the funeral of all these kids. I would attend that with bells on. It doesn't affect me one bit because I didn't do it. The guns didn't do it. The people that are subscribed to the NRA didn't do it. Last I hear, he wasn't an NRA member. It doesn't matter if he was. It doesn't matter. It's like they think that that's some big bad thing. Ooh, show you, blah, blah, blah. Another thing they always say along those lines is, well, if it was your kids, that's not true either. Do we remember that Texas congresswoman? I think she was some sort of legislative person, excuse me, in Texas that had her parents executed right in front of her in that diner. And the first thing she said when she was done with that is, boy, we need less gun control because there was a law in place that I couldn't carry my gun at the time after she just had her parents systematically executed. So I can't agree with the statement, well, if it was your family, then you wouldn't feel this, or, oh, yeah, if your family was the one that was killed or in the hospital, then you wouldn't be saying that. Nonsense. That's just as much crap. That's an ad hominem attack to saying that, well, because your people weren't affected, you can't really have an opinion on the issue. Nonsense. That's the I have no argument attack. So this is all leading into the, again, this video is probably going to be all over the place, probably going to be kind of long, because there's so much stuff that's happened that's absolute nonsense since this Sandy Hook disaster. So again, more into the aftermath. People are just forgetting the basics of everything. People are spouting nonsense. Like I said, these anti-gun peacekeepers are out calling for the deaths of NRA members. It's like, please, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Are you gonna go to the house and kill all these NRA members? And what? Because you don't believe in guns. What are you gonna do it with? I don't know, pitchforks and torches. I don't know. What the hell are you gonna do? So, shortly after that, I guess for whatever reason, they. Oh yeah, another thing about the Sandy Hook, their medical examiner was great, laughing about it, 27 kids just died. Yeah, you know, and that medical examiner interview was hilarious. Good acting though. Well, not good acting. It was actually pretty bad. That's why everybody knows it was a big fake thing. So shortly after this, for whatever reason, somebody at the Journal, which apparently is some New York rag of a newspaper, decided it would be a good idea to release the names and addresses of all pistol permit holders in New York State, because we're just pieces of shit here in New York State. We really are nothing. The gun owners are just pieces of shit. You can just throw them around like whatever. So he decided to release all the information. How would you like it if you had your concealed carry permit in your state? And remember, in New York, you have to have a permit even if you don't want to carry concealed, just to even own a handgun. So that makes the database even bigger. So how would you like it if you were a concealed carry holder in, I don't know, Texas or Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, anything like that? And congratulations, your name and address is all over the internet, and it says, I have a gun in this house. I have a pistol in this house. You know, a pistol that's used in most crimes as compared to a shotgun or a rifle. I have a pistol in this house. Come here and take it. Would you enjoy that? And the dumbass newspaper was like, well, I think it's for public safety after the Sandy Hook incident that people know about the gun owners in their area. But I thought there was no pistols used. Remember, it was that Bushmaster AR-15. Well, I don't know. I guess, you know, I guess just all guns are bad. And so they're on this big guns are bad tirade. Guns are bad tirade. Everybody's outraged, which they should not have been, and I will tell you why. Well, you should have been, definitely, but I'll tell you why you shouldn't have been too outraged. So they're on this big anti-gun tirade, this Journal newspaper, and anti-gun, anti-gun, but the gun owners stand up for themselves, and they keep calling, and they keep writing these people. Eventually, they get all the names and addresses of the people that work at the Journal and post them out on the internet for everybody to see. That's hilarious. So the first thing the Journal did when there was any sort of a threat or danger in their life, got an armed guard for the place. But that really shouldn't come as a surprise for anybody, because they're not against guns. They're against you having guns. All these anti-gun people are against you having guns. Look at... we need to come up with a name for Dianne Feinstein, because I don't really like using that name. It kind of burns my tongue a little bit when I say it. So I'm going to call her the Crypt Keeper. Look at what the Crypt Keeper does. She has a concealed carry permit and then doesn't want you to have any guns. So that's always nice. So yeah, the Journal News, they get armed guards after they had their big guns are bad tirade. Let me tell you why you shouldn't have been that outraged about it, though, because I think people forgot this, but a while back, a site called whospacking.org released all of the pistol permit information. All of it. Not just a few counties in New York. Everybody in New York State. Period. All of it. And I guess people forgot about this, but it was a site called whospacking.org. You can still look it up. The domain is closed down, but you can still see information about it happening before. And I mean everybody. My friend's father, I didn't have the pistol permit at the time, but my friend's father was on there, and he's way away from that downstate city crap. So, yeah, you really shouldn't be that surprised. Yeah, you'd definitely be outraged, because that's absolutely ridiculous anyway, but you really, I mean, it's happened before. And then what else has happened since then? We have had... Oh, yeah, let's talk about Dumbo's thoughts on the issue. So Dumbo, he decided that, I mean, with lightning speed, like speed that you think he would react on if he was, say, I don't know, accused of giving 4,000 assault rifles to Mexican drug cartels to kill American Border Patrol agents, you would think that that would be speedy, but no, much faster than that. He came out and said, "This problem will be stopped," when he was doing that stupid fake crying shit that we already said was fake. And he said, "Oh, I'm going to have Joe Biden working on it. I'm going to have Joe Biden." And I thought, that is fantastic. That couldn't have been a better thing for the gun people, because he'll probably fall asleep when he's trying to do anything. Joe fucking Biden is going to be working on getting a big national assault weapons ban. This problem, how many more people must die, all that nonsense. That was great, the president's response. That was hilarious. Then let's talk about another thing that's happened. Mr. David Gregory, you may have heard of him, you may not have heard of him, but David Gregory, I just mentioned how they said they don't have a problem with guns, they have a problem with you having guns. Well, David Gregory took a 30-round AR magazine to Washington, D.C. to describe how evil it is. Nobody needs these 30-round magazines. The kicker is, those are completely illegal in Washington, D.C. You cannot have them there. Why you actually had to have the physical object instead of, like, I don't know, a picture of it, I'll never understand. Because, I mean, if I was going to see something like the spores of anthrax, I wouldn't want somebody to say, "Hey, man, look at these spores right here, look at these spores." I could take, like, a picture of them, like, I would understand. But no, he had to have the physical object there, but they're completely illegal in Washington, D.C. So the gun people said, so he's under, like, arrest, right? Because he just brought a felonious magazine into Washington, D.C. If any of us did that, we would have been arrested. Nah, that's all right. And he got completely off from it. Because, again, it's nothing to do with banning guns. It's just banning people from having them. They want your guns. They don't want to give up guns. They want your guns. Because not one compromise did I hear at any time during this whole debacle was, guns need to come out of the hands of citizens. Nobody needs this many rounds to hunt deer, whatever their stupid-ass excuse is this time. Nobody needs this many rounds. But never did I hear this. I never heard, "And that's why my Secret Service is giving up their fully automatic weapons and their Sig Sauer, whatever the hell they're carrying nowadays that carry more than 10 rounds. That's why they're doing it." I know some of them carry FN57s as well. Those hold 20 rounds. You don't need 20 rounds to hunt deer. So there's no reason the Secret Service should have them anyway, because that's the only thing the Secret Service does, hunting deer. That's all. I mean, obviously, that's the only thing you use guns for, hunting deer. So, yeah. So that's always great. So David Gregory didn't get prosecuted for this 30-round magazine. However, somebody that is a little bit more respectable than David Gregory, I'm sorry, a frozen wad of dog shit's a little bit more respectable than David Gregory. So somebody that's, hell, on the other end of the spectrum, a war veteran was just arrested, and I think it was D.C. as well, for driving through D.C. with some high-capacity magazines. Now, it's not illegal to drive through D.C. with high-capacity magazines. It's one of those as long as you don't stop things. But I think he stopped. I think that was his problem, and somehow he got caught with the 30-round magazines. A war veteran, I think he was in... I think it was Vietnam. I think it was in the Vietnam War. Vietnam War veteran gets caught with these high-capacity magazines in the same place that Mr. David Gregory got caught, and he has been arrested for it. And these idiots against illegal guns, illegal mayors against guns, no, I didn't mispronounce that. I'm talking about the illegal mayors against guns, are pushing for, we want him prosecuted. He had an evil high-capacity magazine. Well, yeah, your David Gregory had a... Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. We're talking about war veterans. We hate war veterans. Remember, war veterans are crazy anyway. You see these people at car backfires, they hit the ground. War veterans are all crazy. That's right. Everybody who served this country in war, remember, they are telling you that you are crazy. We don't need you people walking the streets. You went out there and defended the country with your life, and you can't come back to it because you're crazy. That's exactly what they're saying to you. So yes, the war veteran gets arrested with a high-capacity magazine in the same place that this anti-gun lunatic had it and was just fine with it. So we have a respectable war veteran trained on handling weapons and obviously high-capacity magazines arrested. Lunatic anti-gunner, which every single anti-gunner I've ever seen always has horrific gun handling skills. If you ever look at the Crypt Keeper, she'll have a gun and she'll have her finger on the trigger and it'll be like an AK or something like that, just pointing at a whole bunch of people. Nobody knows if it's loaded or not. And believe me, I would have no doubt that that thing could be loaded when they're trying to make some sort of ridiculous statement. I would have no surprise if she popped off around into somebody's head when she's trying to make her little tirade there. So yeah, anti-gun lunatic, he's fine with a high-capacity magazine. War veteran, no. How fucking crazy is this fucking country? And everybody is just, oh yes, oh we need to protect the children. Yes, we do. We need to protect the children. Don't even get me started on Andrew Cuomo and this fucking state's response to it. We'll get to that. I'll let that later. That's even better. So that whole debacle happened, and then what happened after that? I don't want to get to the state of the state yet, because that's the newest thing. There's just been so much. I gotta really focus on what has been going on lately. Okay, so we've had the incident, we've had the president's response on it, we've had the high capacity magazine debacle out in D.C. Well, I suppose let's move to New York now. We'll go ahead and talk about New York now. Andrew Cuomo, excuse me, I said, well, Andrew Cuomo, oh, no, I mean Cumhole. Andrew Cumhole made his little State of the State speech, and it was an absolute disaster. First of all, I'm not anti-gun sort of thing. A little side note here. Pretty much everything he said in there was completely retarded. One of the things he mentioned was women's rights, which of course is a big fallacy. They'll often say, and they'll say it in a demanding language so they sound smart. I think that women should be paid the same as men. I will not take it from anybody who says otherwise. Well, so do I. I think women should be paid the same as men for the same work as well. Luckily, that's exactly what happens. Anything else is a big fat lie. And the clearest example of that is if you could pay women less for the same work that men do, why is the workforce not 100% women? Because if I was an employer and I could pay women $7 for a job that I would have to pay men $15 for, why the hell wouldn't I do that? I'm sorry, I brought logic into this issue. That's something that should stay far away from these statements. But that's the besides on Andrew Cuomo's little statement there. If we talk about the actual gun control portion like that, absolute disaster. Absolute disaster. I could cut it down piece by piece. First of all, he says, these assault weapons, using the whole assault weapons term, yeah. And I will just refer to that. I won't even do the air quotes because I don't want to lift my hands up so much to say assault weapons. Just put it this way. They're lying. These assault weapons are a big problem in our community. Now, I'd like to stop you right there, sir. You say that they're a big problem in the community, so I would like to ask you how many people died from all rifles in New York State last year? How many people died from all rifles in New York State last year? In fact, I would like to, I don't want to hear your response in the comments because that would clog it up with just a bunch of random numbers that nobody wants to see. But think in your head, how many people do you think were killed in New York with rifles? I'm not just talking about assault weapons. I'm talking about all rifles. Dad's old hunting rifle, a .22, doesn't matter. All rifles in New York State last year, how many people do you think were killed? I'll give you a second. Okay, time's up. Now, the big problem that needs to be solved with these assault weapons, which only make up part of a it makes up a subsect of all rifles, the total amount of people killed with rifles. In 2011, the big problem that needs to get fixed, that we're actually spending more than half of a passing glance on, is 5. 5. A great deal more people have died from falling out of bed, but I like this statement. You have a better chance of being struck by lightning. You have a 6 times higher chance of, actually no, it's 5 times, don't let me exaggerate. You have a 5 times higher chance of being struck by lightning in the United States. You have a 5 times higher chance of being struck by lightning in the United States than dying from any sort of rifle in New York. So, clearly, yes, this is a big problem. This is something that we need to focus on. We don't need to focus on the fiscal cliff. We don't need to focus on the fact that New York is a big fat shithole when it comes to any sort of taxes or anything like that. We need to focus on something that kills less people than lightning strikes a year. Good. I'm glad that you dumb motherfuckers elected this guy. You elected this cumhole in there. So, that's what we started with. Assault rifles are a big problem. Okay, that was his first statement, already a big fat lie. And then after that, he says, he goes on to say, you know, guns have led to the deaths of a whole bunch of different people and a whole bunch of officers. That's a bunch of nonsense when you consider the violent crime rates, considering it's higher in places like the UK and stuff like that. Yeah, if there's more guns available, there will be more gun crime. That does not mean there will be more crime. Okay? That's like saying if we had a whole bunch more automobiles, there would be a bunch more automobile deaths. That's true. Okay? If we cut out every single automobile in America, the number of walking-related injuries would increase dramatically. The number of fights out on the street would increase dramatically. That's just the way it goes. People are going to use the tools that are available. That's like people always want to tout, yes, but the UK has a lower gun crime rate. That's correct. They have a whole bunch less guns. They have a lower gun crime rate. But they also have a higher violent crime rate, and therefore I don't care how I get killed. If I'm dead, I'm dead. And personally, I'd rather have a bullet go through my head and it be over with quick than have somebody stab me to death like they do in the UK about every 5 seconds. So he goes on all these deaths. Oh, they're all caused by guns and this and that. Always the tearjerker stuff. How many more kids need to die? How many more kids need to die? If you ask me, a whole bunch more. Whole bunch more kids need to die. Oh, well, you're a terrible person for saying that. I'm sorry, it's not politically correct. I'm saying that not because I want to see a whole bunch more kids die, but I will not give up my right to bear arms until a whole bunch more kids die. In fact, you could probably kill every single kid in this United States with an AR-15. And I wouldn't give up my gun rights because that's not going to work out. So I would probably say a whole bunch more and ad infinitum, just all the way, just infinity. Anyway, so he gives these stats, and then he talks about we need the toughest assault weapons ban in the nation. Well, we already have almost the toughest because we still have that disastrous Clinton ban that hasn't stopped a thing. In fact, we've had, again, from all rifles. And I doubt a single one of these were any of these EBRs, Evil Black Rifles. We've had 5 deaths. So, say we eliminated those 5 deaths with these assault rifles. The number killed by handguns is just so far above that it's unbelievable. The number, if you're talking about the whole nation, there's about 350 people killed by all types of rifles a year in the United States. There's about 9,000 killed by pistols, which will be completely unaffected by this. We can't say completely. We'll get to that in a second. So then he talks about just asinine, ridiculous things. He talks about we need to ban the sale of ammo online. We don't need any anonymity. I love when they use this argument because it's so fucking retarded. Think about this. Ban ammo online so there's no anonymity. If I walk into my gun store, I take money, grab a box of ammo, put the money down, walk out the store. Okay? Pretty anonymous. I can see why they're saying that's a lot more anonymous than going to a website, providing your name, address, telephone number, credit card number, possibly your social security number, your date of birth, that little security number on the back of the credit card, that card's expiration date, your billing address, and your shipping address. I can see why they say it's a lot more anonymous to do things online. He also wanted to go with that NICS checks. You know, the checks that you go through to get an actual full-fledged firearm? He wanted NICS checks to get ammo. If you don't think that the phone lines down at the FBI there are going to melt when you have people calling up to buy a $1.99 box of .22 long rifle, you're fucking retarded. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. We're going to have a NICS check to buy ammo. Right. Then another thing they want to pass is micro-stamping. I love this one because it works so well with the Sandy Hook debacle. The micro-stamping, we're going to be able to have a weapon that can micro-stamp a serial number on the back of the cartridge. Well, Micro-stamping. Let's think about what that would have done at Sandy Hook. Okay, the guy killed himself with the rifle, and it was his mom's rifle, which he got illegally anyway, but nobody talks about that. When they find his dead body there, after he's already done all this stuff, they're going to look at the casings, and they're going to find a serial number that's going to lead them to the wrong person, while the regular killer's dead on the ground. Yeah, it stopped everything. Yeah, it stopped everything, and you know, didn't hinder the investigation at all. It's like, instead of just looking at the dead body with his head splattered against the ceiling, they're going to be looking for the mom now because of the microstamping. How fucking retarded can you get? So yeah, they're going to ban online ammo sales, microstamping. They're going to have a NICS check for ammo, and then the toughest assault weapons ban in the nation, closing loopholes in this current assault weapons ban. Loopholes? Are you out of your fucking tree? It has nothing to do with fucking loopholes. That's like the gun control loophole, which is a complete fucking myth as well. So the thing was, they're going to limit, you're going to love this, it's hilarious. They're going to limit the magazine capacity in New York to 7 rounds. Now, if you're wondering where they got that number, there's a fantastic site on the internet called random.org. You type in a number, you type in your criteria, what you want the low end to be, what the high end to be. I sometimes use this for drawing. You type that in, it'll give you a number. That's exactly where they got it from. I don't have a source on this, I just happen to have insider information. I know where they got that number from. 7 fucking rounds. The reason they did that, what people may not see, is this is all about backdoor gun bans. They'll always tout, including Dumbo and Cuomo, they'll always say, we're not coming to get your guns. That's crazy. That's you right-wing extremists. Nobody's going to grab your guns. That is absolute nonsense because they're just going to use backdoor methods. One of the things touted so much by the Crypt Keeper is registration. And with registration, usually there's no transfers. So, or it's very hard so that people don't do it. So what you do with registration, and I don't think she wanted any transfers anyway, registration, okay, you get your rifles or your pistols or whatever registered, and you can't transfer them. So when you die, you can't transfer them to the person that you're next to kin. Those guns, gone. Clear-cut gun ban. The 7-round mag limit that I just mentioned. Do you know of any company that makes a gun that has a capacity of higher than 7-round standard that makes a 7-round magazine? No. They already made a 10-round magazine for us retarded compliant states like New York and California, not even New Jersey. New Jersey has 15 for pistols. But they make their 10-round little neutered magazine. If it goes to 7, you're going to have exactly 0 firearms that use it. In fact, there are 0 Glocks, unless you're talking about the very small 45s. There are 0 Glocks that actually have a 7-round capacity. There are no 9mm Glocks that have a 7-round capacity, and they're not going to make a magazine just for this state. Therefore, you can't have them. Gun ban. Backdoor gun ban, period. They're going to make micro-stamping. That's another thing they want. No technology exists. Gun ban. They know this. It's not like, gee, I wonder if there's a technology. No, get the fuck out of here. They're not stupid. They know this. They're very calculating. They are going to make it so it's a backdoor gun ban, period. That's not a conspiracy. That's just absolutely factual. Everybody out there wants to tell, they're not going to grab your gun. But that's exactly what they're doing. That is exactly, without a doubt, what they're doing. They're not going to grab them right now. They're going to grab them in the future. And because it's not going to happen quick. It's going to happen in stages, just like it happened in the UK. Everybody knows that. They're not going to, of course they're not going to grab your guns. That's ridiculous. They're going to do it in stages. That is exactly what they want to do, and that's what they were going to do. And another thing Kumhole said was, he's like, oh yeah, we're going to have to do a renewal of pistol permits, the one that I already have, and you saw my big year-long debacle on that. So I would have to then renew that every couple of years, spending another enormous amount of money to the state. Can't even imagine. By the way, let's not forget you people out there in the free states that the Crypt Keeper and people like that, and sorry, I fell asleep. I was thinking about Joe Biden. Those people also want a federal assault weapons ban. And, you know, I'm not sure that the NRA is really going to stick up for that because, like I said, I'm not particularly thrilled about their response to this issue either. But their assault weapons ban, I've seen it, and it looks like absolute shit. They're going to make it no evil features, whereas everywhere else, you could, like in the ban states, you could still have 1 evil feature. Except maybe California, you can't have any there. Now it's going to be no evil features. If you got a pistol grip on your weapon, illegal. So my 985 carbine, gone. Well, my X carbine, because like I said, with the way things are going right now, no way. I won't be showing any of my weapons because they got lost in a terrible boating accident. Until things pass over, Terrible boating accident. I don't want any guns right now. The closest you're going to get to gun is that tin print up there, that 44 Magnum. That'll probably be illegal soon because it has sharp edges. There's a federal thing coming, so, I mean, you guys might have more help because the NRA tends to care about federal just a little bit more, but we're just fucked in New York. They're just saying, fuck you guys. Let's talk about the magazines just one more time. They said, okay, 7-round magazines, blah, 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 and they said no grandfathering. So if you have those evil 30-round AR mags, you know, that I used to have before they got lost in that boating accident, they're going to confiscate them. So they're talking about the confiscation. So what are they going to do? Knock at the millions and millions of New Yorkers who own them and come say, hey, you can't have those magazines. Well, they fucking destroyed the Second Amendment anyway. Why not fucking throw out the Fourth? Who gives a fuck? It doesn't really matter. What the hell's a few more amendments to just throw in there? Does it really matter? So they're going to have no grandfathering. That's what they tried to do for federal, but I think they got shot right down right out the bat. But no, I don't think it's going to get shot down in New York. I think they're actually going to have it because... Ooh, I'll talk about my next topic here in a second, because people are just going to give in to them. They always say, well, why don't you compromise? You guys are just radicals. Why don't you compromise? You know, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Let me give you a little history lesson. We compromised in 1934, huge gun control act. We compromised in 1968, huge gun control act. We compromised in 1986, huge gun control act. We compromised in 1994, huge gun control act. We compromised in 2000, that gun control act that was already going on, we made sure that it never sunsetted. And we added things like COBIS and stuff like that. But that's just for New York. All the other ones affected everybody else. How many times do we need to compromise? I think it's time we start backing this motherfucker up. Let's not forget that fully automatic weapons and shit used to be just fine. There was no such thing as a short barrel shotgun and a short barrel rifle because they don't make the weapon any more dangerous or any more concealable at all. We need to back this fucker up. When are you anti-gun motherfuckers going to compromise? How many times, that's what they always say, oh, you guys just won't compromise, you're being unreasonable. We compromised in 1934, 1968, 1986, 1994, and 2000 here. Are we supposed to compromise again? Somebody had a great post on New York Firearms that I thought was fantastic. It goes like this. We all started out with a big cake, us gun owners. In 1934, the antis said, give us your cake. And we said, no. Well, why don't you compromise? Okay, so they took half our cake. And then in 1968, give us your half. No. Well, why don't we compromise? So now we've got a quarter. 1986, give us your quarter. No. Why don't we compromise? Now we have an eighth. In 1994, somebody just sticks their face in my cake and starts eating, and you're like, what the fuck is that? Well, we're just going to go ahead and pass this 1994 assault weapons ban anyway. So now we have a couple of crumbs here. I'm holding fucking crumbs. And then, now, why don't you guys compromise? What? What the fuck? What the fuck am I going to compromise with? It's fucking unbelievable if people still say compromise. Speaking of these people, let's talk about another topic. The pro-gunners out there. If you ever say this statement, I support the Second Amendment, but just stop right there, because never has an intelligent line ever finished that sentence. There's no such thing as I support the Second Amendment, but. That's period. If you think that there is, you are not a true anti-gunner, because that but is often usually found with, I support the Second Amendment, but there's no way anybody needs an assault rifle. There's no way anybody needs 30 bullets to kill a deer. You just don't understand the Second Amendment. That's it. You don't need military weapons. Let's not forget the Second Amendment was made when everybody had military weapons. That was their military weapons at the time. But people say, oh, but that's when they had muskets. That's when they had muskets. They didn't have semi-automatic weapons. If you want to be that stupid, then you can also say the First Amendment was around before we had internet, so you can't spew your stupid bullshit on it. In fact, don't even talk, because the Second Amendment is only for muskets. First Amendment is only for you yelling on a soapbox somewhere in the middle of a field. That's it. It doesn't adopt with the times. Oh, but the First Amendment... I mean, shut the fuck up. You're wrong, in other words. So, these pro-gun people, quote-unquote, are fucking our biggest threat ever. In fact, one of them right now is willing to compromise in the state senate to have that 10-round. He's not going to give him the 7-round thing because he's standing up for it, right? But he's going to have the 10-round thing with no pre-bans. Turn them in. Fuck you. I know I don't have any more in the boating accident because of the boating accident, terrible tragedy. But if I did, I'm not turning in my fucking magazines. I don't give a flying fuck whatever. Because, oh, but you're going to be a felon. You know how much fucking shit I do in a day that makes me a felon anyway? I mean, and it's not that I'm admitting I'm a felon. I'm just fucking saying everything's a fucking felony nowadays. You have to draw the line somewhere. At some point, you have to say, fuck this, I'm not following these fucking ridiculous laws, and just be discreet about everything you do. And I'm not advising anybody to break the fucking law, but it's just too much sometimes. You just gotta say, fuck it. I mean, you have got to be your own fucking person. If you happen to get caught with it, then you fucking fought the good fight, but who gives a flying fuck? You gotta just live for yourself. I'm not gonna, you know, if I didn't lose my AR mags, I'm not gonna fucking turn them in because, oh, there's no grandfather clause. I'm not gonna turn in my fucking property. Those things were fucking expensive. Oh, but they're gonna pay you fair market value. What exactly is the fair market value for an old USGI 30-round magazine? $2 now? Because the government doesn't care about the pre-ban value. They care about the current fair market value, so that's not going to happen. But these pro-gun people, they're always like, oh yeah, like fucking, look at this fucking loser John fucking Kane. Oh yeah, oh, I don't see why anybody needs an assault weapon. They fuck shit left that guy locked up in Vietnam. I don't see why anybody needs an assault rifle. I don't care if you see why anybody needs an assault rifle. I don't see why people like the Kardashians. Doesn't mean they should be fucking illegal. Fuck, that's so stupid. I don't see what anybody needs. And fucking, I've already mentioned that need thing is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever seen before. I would like to go to one of these people's houses, these anti-gun houses that live up in fucking Beverly Hills or whatever, and be like, okay, we're in your house now. Now get rid of everything you need. In fact, I'll do it for you just by snapping your fingers. I'm magic. They're going to be left with a tarp for shelter, a couple of clothes, food, and water. And that's it. No TV, no internet, no car, no dog, no radio, no newspapers, no books, no job, no transportation. You don't need a car, you don't need a boat, you don't need a truck, you don't need a helicopter, you don't need none of it. That's what you're going to be left in. You come back and you talk to me about need. But I think our biggest threat is these pro-gun people. Any of these I support the Second Amendment butters. Can't stand them. Cannot stand them. There is absolutely no but after that statement. There's no compromise. We've compromised far too many times already. I guess my final thing would be, what are my thoughts on the issue? Oh yeah, let me talk before I get there. Let me talk a little bit more about pro-gun, my NRA thing. I keep saying I'm going to make this big rant on the NRA, but I think it's pretty clear why I dislike the NRA now. All they do is ask for money. They ask for money, ask for money, ask for money. They have no problem doing that. In fact, they're fantastic at doing that. If that was their organizational, if that's what they had to do as an organization, they would be fantastic at it. But all they do is ask for money. And ask and ask and ask, and they're asking for like $1,000 for a life membership. That's so unreasonable. It's unimaginable. $1,000 for a life membership. I wouldn't buy a life membership to fucking Beer of the Month Club for $1,000. They ask for money, ask for money, and ask for money, and then we in New York, and it's actually happening nationwide now, considering this assault weapons ban wasn't shot down within fucking 5 seconds. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but they just haven't really given a proper response. They don't do anything for us here in New York. People say, well, they provide money to shooting ranges, and I don't give a fuck about providing money to shooting ranges. You people need to be fucking creating rallies. You need to be fucking standing up to everybody. You need to get the fight rolling in New York, and you're sitting around, hey, we hear New York's having it pretty bad. Gee, you guys should probably do something about that. Fuck you. And I think the response to this whole issue was absolutely asinine when they said, well, I think the answer is armed guards in schools, and I think the problem is violent video games and TV. Well, first of all, I'll tell you right now that that's a big fat lie about the problems being violent video games and TV, because I own more guns than the average person. I own more video games than most people on YouTube, I would say. In fact, I own thousands of video games. I've never even showed you my collection. In fact, if I just open this drawer and I'm sitting on a desk here, I can just pull out Splinter Cell Chaos Theory right here, and I haven't even moved. They're just popping out of the walls here. And yet, I'm not still some mass murderer. And that Splinter Cell Chaos Theory was rated M, by the way. Fantastic game if you haven't played it. So that's a big crock. They're just trying to blame somebody else, which is why I get pissed off at the anti-gunners for. There's only one person responsible for this. Adam Lanza. That's it. Not his mom, not the guns, not the games, not the NRA. Nonsense. And in addition, their other answer is, let's have armed guards in schools. I don't have a problem with that. I have no problem with armed guards in schools. I have no problem with teachers carrying in schools. In fact, I would encourage them to. I have a problem with that being your solution to the issue. There's nothing to do with the solution to the issue because guns are not the problem. I have no problem with the armed guards being in there, but I don't think an armed guard is going to stop everything. I don't think armed teachers are going to stop everything. It's not even going to be a particularly good start. I have no problem with them doing that, but when your response after all this stuff is, well, yeah, we should have armed guards, I think that is a weak sauce response. I mean, there's more things that need to be done in this country that nobody has the balls to fucking say. This education system needs to be reamed out right up the sphincter and started right all over, pretty much. It's an absolute joke. This education system is a fucking joke. They're just being real weak sauce about it, and they're going into hiding whenever these events happen, like they personally caused it. There, people will say, oh, they're being respectful to the families. You need to fight. You need to fight right off the bat, because the antis aren't going to wait. You don't need to wait either. You need to fight right off the bat. Another thing that happens, speaking of pro-gunners, is the gun shows. They are caving like toilet paper. Around here, the gun shows, I thought, have always sucked anyway. But, particularly lately, where these idiot, moron, liberal fucks that live in this fucking state that elected Andrew Cumhole again, they're like, oh, you know, could you please not show any ARs? That's disrespectful. How the fuck is that disrespectful? It didn't happen in this state. It didn't happen with this gun. It didn't happen from this company. It didn't even happen with this type of weapon in this caliber at this gun show. Well, I guess that's quite clearly disrespectful there. I can see why you would say that. I just would hope that whenever somebody gets killed with a Ford Focus, we go to the Ford dealership and ask them to take the Ford Focuses down, because that's disrespectful. Didn't somebody get killed, like 30 people get killed in a big bus accident recently? I think it was in Mexico or something like that. Somebody went off a cliff in a bus. Well, oh, excuse me, Yankee Trails, could you please, like, get rid of your buses? That's disrespectful. Get the fuck out of here. Oh, yeah, but we don't want you to have those gun shows here. Yeah, and I don't want to have to pay for fucking Dippin' Dots. Who gives a fuck? I mean, everybody has their wants, so what the fuck? Yeah, the pro-gunners are going to kill us. So again, I think, I guess where I was getting at earlier is, what do I think should actually be done? What would I like the actual gun laws to be? First thing to do is pretty much outlaw every single assault weapons ban that's ever been made, because it's so pointless. To give you an idea of the stats, again, about if you added the number of all shotguns and all rifles, which are the ones typically affected by the assault weapons ban, together, if you added them together, you would still need to add some to that to get people to match the number of people that are killed each year with hands and fists. And other physical impacts. Hands, fists, feet, and pushing. It's on the FBI data table. So, what are we going to ban them next? Oh, but the military weapons are only designed for killing. That's the biggest line of nonsense I've ever heard. They may have been designed for killing, but what something was designed for is completely irrelevant. Let's not forget the internet was designed for warfare as well. Started a thing called, like, DARPANET, and we went from there. If you've never known the history of the internet, what it was invented for is completely and utterly irrelevant. My thoughts on the issue, though, should be that get rid of all the assault weapons bans. I don't think they think that should be allowed. Get rid of New York's pistol permit process. Allow more people to carry. That's not going to solve anything. I just think that should just be a given anyway. Revamp the education system. It's an absolute joke in this country. It's an absolute joke. You get people saying, oh, the teachers aren't paid enough. That's a big fat crock. That is the biggest crock I've ever seen. For the amount of work that they do, that is a big fat crock. And that's you may think that that's cutting down the teachers, but it's not. It's cutting down the educational system as a whole. The teachers aren't doing that much work because the curriculum is so retarded that they just don't have that much work to do. They give out busy work, and then they spend all night correcting it in their home, and then they act like, oh, we're overworked and stuff like that. The schools have far too much money right now instead of not enough. They have far too much, and they're spending it very irresponsibly, just like this government. Impeach Andrew Cuomo, because honestly, I think anybody that says we need to ban weapons, or anybody who is a Second Amendment butt person, should automatically be impeached anyway, because that is clearly a violation of their oath to uphold the Second Amendment, uphold the Constitution. And hell, if he starts knocking at your door to seize your magazines or rifles or whatever the flavor of the day is, that's a violation of the Fourth, because even if they don't come in your house, if they come to the door asking for you to turn your stuff in, that's still a violation of the Fourth Amendment, because that's an unreasonable seizure. Yeah, still a violation of the Fourth Amendment. So if you trashed the Second and the Fourth Amendment just like that, you should automatically be impeached without question. I think the same should go for Obama. And start from there. If we redo this whole education system and impeach those idiots and focus on mental health problems, which I believe if you have somebody so wacky that if they're in a house with a gun, because people always say, oh, if you have mentally retarded people, or not mentally retarded, that's insulting to mentally retarded people. If you have mentally defunct people that are like crazy, and you have them in a house with a gun, you should probably lock up that gun. Nonsense. I think if you have a guy that's so wacky that if he had access to a gun, he would hurt a whole bunch of people, that person should not be in free society. Because if they're so wacky, who the hell is not going to say they're going to say, I don't know, get a U-Haul truck and blow up 168 people in the Oklahoma City Center? I don't know, that's just an example I just pulled out of my head. Like that ever happened. It's just crazy. You need to focus on the mentally, challenged people, the crazy people, and not just say, well, you should have them in your home and it should be your responsibility to take care of them. If somebody's that crazy, they need to be locked up. And everybody's going to say, oh, well, not everybody's that crazy where they need to be locked up. If you're not that crazy and you don't need to be locked up and you can function fine, I don't have a problem with you. But if you're that crazy that you can't tell the difference between reality and fiction, which they also always try to blame on video games, which is hilarious, if you're that crazy, you probably shouldn't be in free society. Just like if you raped somebody and there's a good chance you're probably going to do it again, you shouldn't get paroled. This fact sickens me to no end. Ow. This fact sickened me to no end when they're like, did you know that X number of people in prison are repeat offenders? The fuck do you mean X number of people are repeat offenders? There should be no repeat offenders. If there's even a chance somebody might do it again, they should remain in prison. Personally, I don't think free society should be a tester ground to see if somebody's going to make it in free society. I think that's a little bit insane. Yes, but I would like to end with this quote right here because we're approaching an hour now. We're at 51 minutes. I would like to end with this quote regarding gun bans and things like that. 1934, 1968, 1986, 1994, and those are just the federal ones, gun bans. Since then, crime has been decreasing. So that means that they've done something, right? Not exactly, because it's not a perfect correlation. Crime has been decreasing that whole time regardless of the gun bans, because when take for example the Clinton gun ban, when that happened, crime decreased at the exact same rate before and after. Nothing was done. So I would be willing to bet that without any of these gun bans, things would still be exactly the same. There would still be these same number of shooters. There would still be these same number of mass killings, and it's going to happen anyway. Let's not forget that after England banned all their guns, the UK and stuff, somebody just slaughtered 12 people in some big mass shooting. You can look it up. 12 people die in UK shooting or whatever. But that's not the quote I wanted to end with. That was just a fact. Here's the quote I want to end with regarding those gun bans in 1934, 1968, 1986, to 1994, trying to solve some imaginary problem. It's not solving anything because it's never been a problem. That's like your car engine overheating and you changing the tires. And that didn't work, so you changed the other tire. And that didn't work, so you changed the other tire. Of course, it didn't fix anything because that wasn't the problem. So here's the quote. You probably heard it before. Insanity is defined as doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Like banning guns, banning guns, banning guns, banning guns, and it hasn't affected the decline rate of violent crime. Wow! I will tell you what has declined, though, that is a pretty nice statistic. From 1993 to 2012, violent crime has decreased by 50%, and the amount of gun ownership has went through the roof. So that's an interesting fact you should keep in mind. So that's about it. I have 40 Smith & Wesson dies coming to add to my reloading repertoire because things are getting crazy in the ammo prices, especially if you can't order them online anymore in New York, because that's going to prevent exactly nothing. Because we're not in liberal fantasy land. Well, we might actually be in liberal land. It's just not fantasy here. It's more like hell. I can't wait to get out of this state. I keep saying that. I keep saying that. I keep saying that. But I just don't have the money or a job to get out right now. But if a magic fairy came and said, "Here's a job, and here's a little starting money to go to another state," I wouldn't even take anything I have in here right now. I would leave with the clothes on my back and get out of this state as fast as you could possibly fucking imagine. I wouldn't even take my guns as much as I love them, because I'll just buy everything over there. I just gotta get out of this state. It is a fucking disaster. So yeah. Oh yeah. Well, let's not end it quite yet. Andrew Cuomo also said, speaking of quotes, I gave my quote, he gave this one. We need to lead the state in progressiveness, or we need to lead the country in progressiveness. We need other countries to say, look at that state, that's how things are done. To which leads me to say, so we've had this assault weapons ban in act since 1994, and in 2004 when it actually ended, and New York just kept it. I think there's only about 7 states with an assault weapons ban, so the 43 other states out there, for some reason they didn't say, look at New York, that's how you do things. Maybe that's because we have the highest tax in the nation, because we are like the shittiest state when it comes to spending money on welfare queens and teat suckers, and we are a disaster when it comes to personal freedoms, and people are bleeding out of this state like a sieve. Maybe that's why they didn't follow New York's lead. But hey, they'll do it now, right? But I still have my concealed carry piece on, so this may be the last gun you ever see on this channel, because let's not forget, this 10-round magazine here could very well be illegal here in New York soon, because 7 rounds, no grandfathering. So like I said, remember when we used to have these things on the channel? Unbelievable. And I'm sure I missed something, but we're getting to an hour now, and I just had to probably get everything out there. If you've managed to stay this whole time, I appreciate it. Take it easy, and I would say call your representatives in New York and stuff like that, but they're going to do whatever the fuck they want anyway. Really, I mean, I call them and all that stuff. I email them. I email to Jodebrand and Schumer and all that shit, but they're going to give you some stupid form response and do what the fuck they want anyway. It's just nonsense. It's just for looks. You know those people that say the whole United States are just run by the Illuminati and they're going to do whatever they want? People are out there, but I'm starting to believe where they're coming from. So that's it. I envy the people in America. But hey, if the federal ban passes anyway from the Crypt Keeper, who cares? We're all going to be in the same shit wagon anyway. Take it easy, and I hate to say that you might not see any more gun videos on the channel because everything might be illegal, but we'll see where things go. I'm out.